Washington, D.C. W240DJ, Washington. 95.9 WMMJ HD3, Bethesda. WKYS HD3, Washington. WPRS HD3, Waldorf, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
The topics, views, and opinions expressed on the air and via All Igniting Change with Barbara Arnwine, platforms by host Barbara Arnwine Esquire, guests, and supporters are their own and are independent of any organization, entity. Nothing said on the show or any of its platforms constitutes a client-attorney relationship or serves as legal advice counsel. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to Igniting Change, its platforms, or the show's host. It's time now for Igniting Change, a weekly provocative and empowering program where you, the listener, can ignite change. Now here's your host, Barbara Arnwine.
Get up, stand up for your right. Get up,
we want to welcome all our East Coast listeners and all our West Coast listeners. Yes, good morning to you. It's the day after Christmas, but guess what? It is, and let me bring on my co-host because we're going to say it together. It is, come on, Daryl Jones. Hey, Daryl Jones is the chair of the board of the mighty Transformative Justice Coalition, an amazing radio host and commentator, and it's a joy to work with him. Hey, Daryl, how are you?
Hey, Barbara, doing great. It must be Tuesday. It must be noon Eastern Standard Time because we're talking about igniting change. Barbara, what an exciting show we have. And it's December the 26th, so happy Kwanzaa.
Umoja! It's Unity Day. Yes, Umoja, the first of the 7 principles. It is to unite. Nothing more important than unity of engagement, unity of love, unity of working together, unity of all the beautiful things that unity inscribes. It's no accident. It is the first principle of Kwanzaa. So we'll be celebrating Kwanzaa every day until New Year's. And we are just so excited to be able to bring you this show today. The name of our show is Sounding the Call, Raising Public Awareness about the important stories of 2023, the mass media missed. Today's show will be live with co-hosts Daryl and myself, and we're going to have some amazing guests. Yes, returning to the show are 3 of our most prominent guests of the year, Dianne Wilkerson, attorney Terry O'Neill, and, of course, the mighty Professor Ernest Charles. You don't want to miss this show. We got so much to talk about because we're going to talk about what we see as our review of 2023, what kind of media coverage there was, what did they get wrong, what did they get right, and what did they just miss, period. The show will also discuss how to raise public awareness, consciousness, and activism regarding important matters that are not highlighted in the national public debate. This is so important because in 2023, we saw all kinds of disturbing trends in the areas of voting rights, constitutional freedoms, book banning, attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and people banning the teaching of Black history. Yes, horrific Supreme Court decisions such as that on affirmative action, major unjust police killings of African Americans, the use of vicious policing tactics, notably those reported in Memphis and Baton Rouge, and the massive spread of states adopting voter suppression methods, and, of course, at the end of the year, the devastating 8th Circuit decision banning private parties and private groups from bringing racial discrimination in voting cases under the Voting Rights Act. Ooh, Daryl. Ooh, Daryl. What a show we got for today.
Yeah, Barbara, it's always interesting to sit back now from where we are here at the end of December and able to look back at all that has happened in 2023. You know, they say that Americans have a very short memory. And one of the things that is so good about this show is we are able to shake off that dust of what may have been in your memory and bring it up to the forefront for you to know that it wasn't that long ago that these things have happened, and that many of them are still in front of us and significant right now, today. So, Barbara, you know, our guests today, you know, they're from all over in terms of their experiences, but their depth of knowledge is just singular, and it's just, you know, incredible what they're going to be bringing forward to our show this afternoon.
Well, we can't wait. Let me bring on the first guest. Let's see if she's with us already. That's Dianne Wilkerson. She's the first African-American female. Oh, I knew you would be with us, good lady. We are so happy to have you. You are the first African-American woman to serve in the Massachusetts Senate, and she is also our board treasurer for the Transformative Justice Coalition, and I'm just an amazing leader. Whoa, she's so transformative. We are so happy to have you, Dianne Wilkerson. Welcome.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Habara Ghani. What is the word of the day? Happy Kwanzaa.
That's right. Habara Ghani. That's right. Umoja. All right now. And we also have with us Terry O'Neill. Terry, are you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
All right now. Terry is coming back again on our show. She is an amazing leader. She is the current board secretary for TJC. She's a former president of the National Organization for Women now, and she's former host of the podcast called What Equality Looks Like. She is awesome, and we are blessed to work with her. Terry, thank you for joining Igniting Change today.
Oh, I am so thrilled to be here, Barbara, and hear all y'all's voices. It's just great to be here.
All right now. And the last, but he is not even halfway the least. I'm talking about one of the most important minds of our generations, one of the greatest thinkers, one of the greatest advocates for African-American women and for Black feminism. I'm talking about no one other than the mighty attorney Ernest J. Quarles. He's also a professor at Johns Hopkins University and a member of the board of the African American Policy Forum. Hey, Ernie, welcome to Igniting Change.
Hello, Barbara. Hi, Daryl. Hi, Terry. Hi, Dianne. I'm just, elated to be with everybody today.
Okay, Daryl, let's get into it.
Absolutely.
Yes, go ahead, Daryl. You asked the first question. All our mighty guests.
Yeah, well, let's just jump right into it. There's been so much that has happened in 2023 over these last 12 months. Terry O'Neill, what do you see as the one driving story that you believe really epitomizes what has been occurring in 2023?
Daryl, I think it's two things. Actually, I think I'll say a good news and a bad news. I think on the good news side, what we have learned in 2023 is that women's reproductive health care is very important to both women voters and men voters, all the genders, the transgender and non-binary. I mean, the states that have begun to really criminalize women's access to reproductive health care are experiencing serious backlash. We've had voter ballot measure after ballot measure after ballot measure showing that like 70% of the voting population wants women to have access to reproductive health care. That spells trouble for extreme conservatives who want to impose a Christian nationalist view on our country. Okay, that was the good news. The bad news is I have not seen elected officials pushing for voting rights. The very people who most need to ensure that we have access to health care, and that's low-income people and young people and communities of color, those are the very communities that are being blocked from voting, and I don't see elected officials anywhere across the board truly fighting for that. So that's what got me worried.
All right now. Dianne Wilkerson, the same question.
I'm like Terry. That's a tough one. Here's what I think. And like Terry, I think there are two for me. One is the collection of stories about that have convinced me that there is no length to which the right wing would dare or fear to go to deny basic rights, voting, working, and every measure towards the people of color, towards disenfranchisement of voters, to women. I think that is what 2023 will most has most etched in my head. That there we've seen some things and some ideas and some practices and some people stand up, so-called leaders, and say things out loud and announcing new plans to degrade people, to deny, that I just thought we never would see. I just didn't. And I think that the other is that the mass media, I think, needs a collective timeout, like to figure out what is news and what is not news, and how to relay the news, and how they have normalized lunacy in a way that makes it more dangerous for us. Just try to be out here living and walking around every day.
Wow. And Ernie, Professor Quarles, what in the world? How do you answer that question?
Yeah, it's a deep one, and I definitely agree both with Dianne and Terry's view. For me, it's an intersectional failure, really, of the media to be able to connect these dots that are so apparent to most of us in the movement. That is just, it's searing for me, because this is a capacity and ability that the media in the 60s and 70s had. I mean, and so, I ask myself, how is that in the field of journalism so readily lost? Has it just been bought off? Has it been compromised? Are there major curriculum changes in journalism schools? Has the extreme right, embedded itself so deeply within our institutions that these people coming out, just have no sense of what they even need to be talking about? So that's a real big problem for me in terms of one of the, big stories. And the other story for me, quite frankly, and it's probably something that many people aren't harping on, is the Dollar General attack. I thought, for me, despite all the things that were happening in the court, that Dollar General attack for me was huge, because that's signaling we don't have to any longer have an organization like the KKK. Right now, we have individual white people who are disgruntled and fearful, who now can go out and wage assaults on people of color.
My Lord, like Buffalo, right? We've seen this trend line. But, there's so much hate. And probably the rise of hate, as you're saying, Ernie, is one of the big stories, right, Daryl, of this year.
Oh. Yeah, absolutely, Barbara. And, and Ernie, if you could just take a second to go a little deeper into to the shooting that you were making reference of in Florida, because some folks have forgotten. They have forgotten.
Absolutely. Jacksonville, Florida, 21-year-old white gunman entered a Dollar General store and killed 3 black patrons. And that, that's a blip on the news radar screen that most people probably don't even recall. But it holds black people in peril, in fear. And it's just, and, Barbara mentioned, Buffalo, New York, too, 2022. The thing about the Florida situation that many people probably also don't know is that occurred, I think it was on August 20, what was it? There was another incident in Jacksonville back in 1960. So that attack, ironically occurred, the shooting in Jacksonville occurred the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington, and 60 years after that, a similar attack back
they know their history.
Oh, absolutely.
And we saw that when at Mother Emanuel Church It was,
Right.
100 plus years to the date of that term. Of Marvisi. There's so much history interrelated with the haters. They know